What do you mean she got fired for poor customer service on her second day? Gregory Benton leaned back in his office chair, eyebrows stitched in disbelief. His assistant, Carla, hesitated. That's what the file says. A guest complained, and the assistant manager at store 12 confirmed it. Gregory narrowed his eyes. The same store with the highest turnover and lowest customer satisfaction? Carla nodded slowly. Gregory exhaled through his nose. 14 locations now. His father had built the company from scratch, and when Gregory inherited it 3 years ago, he'd promised to keep the heart of it alive: community, quality, and care. But lately, numbers from store 12 weren't adding up. The numbers weren't just bad, they were weird. Too many new hires gone within the first week. Too many guest complaints logged by the same person. And he was sick of hearing about it secondhand. Gregory decided to go in himself. He spent the weekend crafting a new identity: Gabe, the new front desk trainee. He shaved his beard, traded his tailored jackets for a wrinkled polo and khakis, and wore thick framed glasses. No one at store 12 had ever met him in person. It was a corporate chain. He handled ownership from the top, rarely stepped into individual stores. It wasn't hard to blend in. Monday morning, he walked through the glass doors of store 12 with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. The reception area looked clean, but cold. A tired-looking older woman with sharp eyes and a fake smile sat behind the desk. She didn't even glance up when he stepped in. "You the trainee?" she asked flatly. "Yes, ma'am. Gabe. Starting today." She didn't introduce herself, just tossed a laminated badge across the counter. "Shadow me. Don't speak unless I ask you to." "Got it." Gregory nodded. Her name tag read, Valerie. By noon, he'd already seen 3 employees get snapped at by Valerie over nothing. One girl, barely 19, was nearly in tears after being scolded for not smiling enough. Another was accused of slowing down check-ins when he'd clearly just followed the script. Gregory kept quiet, watching everything. At around 2, a guest came to the counter. Her tone was polite, but Valerie's face hardened the second she saw the woman's messy bun and hoodie. "Excuse me," the guest said. "I think there was a mistake on my room. You need to go speak with housekeeping." Valerie cut in, voice sharp. "We don't handle those issues here." Gregory saw the woman blink, startled. "I just need to. Ma'am, like I said, I'm not dealing with this." "Next." The woman stepped away, looking confused and embarrassed. Gregory leaned closer, voice low. "Couldn't we have helped her?" Valerie gave him a quick glare. "You're here to learn, not question." Later that day, when Valerie stepped out to take a call, Gregory wandered behind the reception desk to organize some of the scattered check-in slips. That's when he saw it. A document labeled, "Guest Complaints Internal Use." The names he skimmed through weren't guests, they were employees. He spotted the 19-year-old from earlier. Refused to smile at customer. Negative attitude. Fired. Another slip. New hire. Delayed check-in. Rude to guest. Fired. All of them filed by V. Hartley. Gregory's stomach turned. When Valerie returned, she saw him looking at the file. Her face froze. "Put that down," she said quickly. Gregory set it back, silent. That night, he sat in his car and stared at the dashboard. His chest was tight. Why would someone fake service reports? To get new hires fired? He rubbed his eyes hard. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe there was something he didn't understand yet. But his gut said otherwise. Tomorrow he'd dig deeper. And if he found what he thought he was going to put an end to it. Tuesday started colder. The fluorescent lights above the lobby cast a dull sheen on the polished floor, but the atmosphere had none of the warmth that Gregory remembered from his father's days. The kind of place where guests were greeted by name, where regulars brought cookies to the front desk staff during the holidays. His place felt sterile. He pulled the badge over his head and stepped behind the desk just as Valerie was finishing a terse phone call with someone from housekeeping. "Don't just stand there," she said without looking at him. "We've got 2 early check-ins and no keys printed yet. You know how to use the back-end system or not?" "I've seen it once," Gregory said. She gestured to the screen. "Then watch me." Once. He watched carefully, noting how she toggled between reservation screens, printed key cards, and flagged a room as unavailable without explanation. By mid-morning, the pace picked up. A young guest in business attire approached the counter with a tablet in one hand and a coffee in the other. "Good morning," she said. "I just checked in through the app, but it's saying my room's not ready." Valerie didn't look up. "Then it's not ready. I have a call in 30 minutes. Can I wait somewhere private?" "Lobby's open." Gregory saw the woman falter, then press her lips together and nod silently. She sat by the elevator and pulled out her headset. When the guest was out of earshot, Gregory asked, "Was there a spare conference room?" "Not her problem." "Not ours," Valerie replied. "She booked a standard room. She gets a standard wait." Gregory didn't respond. He simply started a new mental tally. Around noon, an older employee came in from the back, rubbing her wrist. Her name tag read Janine. She was short, moved stiffly, and wore a compression brace on one arm. "Val, I need to switch off late shift," she said quietly. "I've got a doctor's appointment. My carpal's flaring again." Valerie glanced up from her screen. "You're scheduled to close." "I know, but I can trade with Amanda or even come in early tomorrow." "Nope." Amanda already said no to doubles. "And we're not changing anything for a wrist wrap." Janine's face tightened. "I'm asking for one adjustment. I've been covering weekend opens for 3 weeks. Valerie turned back to her screen. "And you'll keep doing it unless you're quitting." Gregory caught Janine's eyes. There was no fight left in them, just fatigue. She walked away without another word. That afternoon, Gregory was assigned to shadow a different desk agent named Victor, while Valerie sat in the office handling scheduling. Victor was in his early 20s, polite but guarded. He walked Gregory through the reservation system, explaining how to manage walk-ins and flagged bookings. He was good with details, patient with guests, and clearly trying to keep things running smoothly. "You've been here long?" Gregory asked as they restocked keycard folders. 7 months, Victor replied without looking up. "Longest anyone's lasted on front desk lately." "Why's that?" Victor hesitated. "There's a lot of pressure, and not much patience when you're learning." Gregory nodded slowly. "I noticed a few people come and go already." "Yeah," Victor said, voice low. "They don't last." "Valerie's got a system." "What kind of system?" "She handles guest complaints. But most of the time, no one actually complains. She just writes up new hires if they don't fit in." "Don't fit in?" Victor looked around to make sure no one was nearby. "If they're too slow, or ask too many questions, or just different." One girl was let go because she wore a head wrap and looked unapproachable. Gregory's stomach turned. "You saw that?" "I was working that shift. No guest said anything. She got written up anyway and was gone by the next day." That night, Gregory stayed late under the guise of learning the night audit process. Valerie had left just before 6, claiming she had a corporate call to take from home. Once she was gone, Victor relaxed. "You want to see something?" he asked. Gregory followed him to the break room. Victor pulled out a small, beat-up notebook from his locker. "I started writing down the names," he said. "Everyone who got fired. And why." Gregory flipped through it. Names, dates, and brief notes. No call back after asking for schedule change. Sent home after guest complaint, guest denied complaining. Fired for attitude after asking about training. One entry stopped him cold. Maria, 2 days. Told to leave after no eye contact with guest. Guest was blind. Gregory looked up. This is real. Victor nodded. She was so sweet. Nervous but sweet. Valerie said she was making guests uncomfortable. Gregory closed the notebook and handed it back. His jaw was tight. You know this isn't how it's supposed to be, right? He said quietly. Victor gave a tired laugh. I figured. But what are we gonna do? Gregory didn't answer. The next morning, Gregory arrived early and waited by the service entrance. Janine showed up 10 minutes later, her hand now wrapped in a more rigid brace. You're here early, Gregory said. She smiled faintly. I get here before Valerie. That way I can breathe before it starts. Can I ask you something? He said. Why stay? She paused. Because I've got rent. And no one else is hiring someone my age to work front desk. I know the systems. I know the guests. But if I say one wrong thing. She didn't finish. Inside, the lobby was already filling with guests. Greg helped manage a small line of check-ins, taking notes on which rooms had been marked unavailable without clear reason. He'd been quietly cross-referencing them with maintenance reports and found inconsistencies rooms marked maintenance hold, even though no work orders were filed. At 10, Valerie returned and immediately pulled Janine aside. You're not scheduled to take your break until noon, she said sharply. I was just getting water. Next time ask. Gregory stepped forward. She was still at her station. No guests were waiting. Valerie turned to him. You're not in charge here. Don't interrupt again. Gregory met her gaze but said nothing. He didn't need to argue. He had what he needed. That afternoon, he stepped into the staff office and called Carla. I need you to send 3 HR reps and our legal counsel to store 12, he said. Today. No delay. Is this about the reports? No. It's about what's not in the reports. By 5 o'clock, the HR team arrived quietly and set up in the small upstairs conference room. Gregory stayed at the desk watching Valerie closely. At 6:15, she approached him. Who are those people upstairs? Gregory looked at her calmly. Corporate audit team. They're reviewing staff files. Valerie narrowed her eyes. Why? He didn't answer. At 6:22, Carla stepped out of the elevator and walked straight to Gregory. Ready when you are, she said. The front desk was busy. Phones ringing, guests arriving, keys being handed out. Gregory took off his badge and set it on the counter. Then he turned to Valerie. My name is Gregory Benton, he said. I own this company, and we need to talk. Her face went pale. Victor, who had just returned from restocking towels, froze mid-step. Gregory gestured toward the back office. Now, she followed, silent. Inside, Carla and 2 HR reps were waiting, folders already open. Valerie sat stiffly, arms crossed. We've reviewed guest reports, scheduling logs, and termination files from the last 6 months, Carla said. We've found significant discrepancies. Valerie's voice was tight. All terminations were due to poor performance. Gregory leaned forward. We spoke to guests. We spoke to employees. Many of the complaints you logged were fabricated. Some of them involved discriminatory language and targeting based on appearance or ability. Valerie opened her mouth to protest, but Gregory cut in. This is non-negotiable. Your employment is terminated effective immediately. Security is escorting you out. You are not to return to this property or contact any staff. Valerie's face crumpled into disbelief. You don't understand how hard I've worked to keep this place running. You didn't keep it running, Gregory said. You drove good people out and undermined everything this company stands for. She stood, shaking, and walked out without another word. Gregory turned to the HR reps. Everyone she let go, I want those files reopened. Contact them directly. Offer interviews. And for those who want to come back, we'll cover onboarding and pay retroactive training hours. He left the office and found Victor still standing by the linen closet. Stunned. You all right? Gregory asked. Victor nodded slowly. You really own it? I do. Victor exhaled. I thought no one was watching. Gregory gave him a tired smile. I wasn't, but I am now. Gregory returned to store 12 the next morning wearing his usual suit. No more disguises. No more silence. He stepped through the front doors just past 8, nodded to the housekeeper mopping the tile, and walked straight to the staff room. The atmosphere was brittle. Staff who'd seen the HR team arrive the day before looked unsure whether to speak. Others kept their eyes down, unsure if the change would actually stick. Victor approached quietly. She's really gone? Gone, Gregory said. And she's not coming back. Victor let out a breath and nodded, but his posture stayed guarded. Greg didn't blame him. One firing didn't erase months of fear. I need your help, Gregory continued. There's no acting manager in place, and I'm not bringing someone from corporate. You know how things work here. You'll handle scheduling until we get a permanent lead. I'll be here every day this week. Side by side. Victor hesitated. I've never done scheduling. You've never been given the chance. You'll have support. You in? A short pause, then a small nod. Yeah. I'm in. Gregory stepped into the back office and found Janine already sorting keys. Her wrist was still braced, but she moved with more focus than the day before. He didn't ask how she was feeling. He knew the better question. How much overtime's on your last 2 checks? She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded page. Over 20 hours each. I stopped clocking breaks. No one else to cover mid-shift. Not anymore, Gregory said. We'll bring in floaters from nearby locations. I want you on a 4-day rotation until your wrist heals. Full pay. Janine looked at him for a long moment. You're not just making promises? No, I'm making changes. She nodded once and went back to work. By 10, Gregory was behind the desk with Victor, training 2 temporary front desk staff borrowed from Store 5 and Store 9. One of them, a woman named Shelby, had worked under Gregory's father years ago before transferring out. Her voice was warm, efficient. She knew the system better than most. I never thought I'd be back here, she said as she restocked the welcome packets. Neither did I, Gregory replied. But I should have been. The front desk ran smoother than it had in weeks. Guests were greeted without hesitation. Room keys were prepped efficiently. Every interaction was logged properly. Not a single unavailable room was flagged without reason. At lunch, Gregory took a seat in the corner of the break room while staff rotated through. He listened more than he spoke. What he heard was consistent. People hadn't left because of the work. They'd left because they were alone in it. Because asking for help was treated like failure. Because effort never translated into trust. Mid-afternoon, Carla called. Legal's finished reviewing the termination files, she said. There are 7 cases with clear cause for reversal. 3 have agreed to return. 1 is pending a discrimination claim. Give them full rehiring bonuses, Gregory said, retroactive to their original start dates. And the claim, I'll meet with her myself. After the call, he walked into the laundry area, where a teenage girl named Malia was folding towels with practiced speed. She looked up, startled. I'm not late, she said quickly. You're not in trouble, Gregory assured her. I'm just trying to learn everyone's name. Oh, she hesitated, then added, I'm Malia. I'm seasonal. Just weekends and evenings after school. You've been here how long? For weeks. She lowered her eyes. I don't think I'll stay. Why not? Last week, I asked if I could switch a shift for midterms. Valerie said I was either in or out, that there were 10 more like me waiting. Gregory's jaw clenched slightly, but he kept his voice even. That's not how we work. You're in school. That matters. She looked surprised, then nodded. Thanks. By 5, the lobby had quieted. Gregory pulled Victor aside. I need you to look over tomorrow's roster. Prioritize rest periods. No more back-to-back doubles. Victor scrolled through the schedule. We're short 2 for the late shift. I'll stay and cover half. Victor blinked. You're serious? I'm not going back to my office until this store runs the way it should. As the sun dipped behind the building, a woman stepped through the front door's early 30s, pressed blazer, face tense. She walked straight to Gregory. You're the one in charge now? I am, he said. I'm Tessa. You fired me 3 weeks ago. Or she did. I was told a guest reported me for being cold. I never even had a warning. Gregory nodded. I remember your file. We've been reviewing everything. You were terminated unfairly. I want to come back, she said, eyes steady. Not because I trust this place, but because I didn't deserve what happened. You start Monday. Full pay retroactive to your original start. You'll have a new role training coordinator. You'll work with new hires. Protect them from what you went through. Tessa didn't respond right away. Then she said, That'll help. As she turned to leave, Victor watched her go. She trained me, he said quietly. She's good. I know, Gregory replied. We lost too many good people. Late that night, after the final shift change, Gregory sat alone in the office. The place was quiet, tired, but no longer tense. He pulled out the old guest complaint log Valerie had kept. Every record had been copied and filed by HR. The original was no longer needed. He fed it through the shredder page by page. No one would be erased like that again. Thursday morning, the store was quiet before open. Gregory arrived before sunrise, unlocked the back entrance himself, and brewed a pot of coffee in the break room, something mundane, but grounding. He wasn't just visiting anymore. He was embedded in the daily rhythm now. His shoes stuck slightly to the mop tiles as he walked the halls, the scent of industrial cleaner still hanging in the air. At 7:30, the first employee through the door was Shelby. She looked at him, eyebrows raised when she spotted him wiping down the front desk counter with a rag someone had left behind. You really are here early, she said, setting her bag down behind the counter. Most owners don't even know where the mop closet is. I'm trying not to be most owners anymore, Gregory replied, folding the rag and placing it neatly by the sink. She nodded, then turned to log into the shift terminal. Victor's off today. I'm covering his spot. Gregory didn't ask if she was okay with that. They both knew the answer. There simply wasn't another option today. Not yet. The first guest arrived a little after 8. The man was groggy, clearly just off a red-eye flight, and unsure if his early check-in had gone through. Shelby handled it without hesitation, offered him coffee, checked the system, found that his room hadn't been cleaned yet, but offered him a temporary access to the business lounge to freshen up. No fuss, no script, just common sense and calm delivery. Gregory watched her, then quietly made a note to ask her later if she'd be open to mentoring some of the new hires once the full staff roster was rebuilt. By mid-morning, 2 more returning employees had arrived to finalize their rehiring paperwork. One, a soft-spoken man named Tarek, had left after only 5 days on the job under Valerie's oversight. He said little, but his eyes scanned the room like someone checking for traps. I didn't think I'd walk back in here, he admitted as Gregory handed him the reactivation form. You shouldn't have had to walk out in the first place, Gregory said. You'll start with the support team afternoons. No double shifts. And if anything feels off, you come straight to me or Carla. Tarek nodded. I just want to work. I didn't get that chance last time. Gregory gave him a firm handshake. You've got it now. The rest of the day fell into a manageable rhythm, though the gaps were still obvious. Half the rooms were blocked off for deep cleaning due to months of neglected maintenance. Housekeeping was running with a skeleton crew, and the night audit process still relied entirely on Shelby's familiarity with the system. During a short lull in the afternoon, Janine came up front, not to clock in, but to deliver a small tote bag of wrist braces and hot packs. Brought extras, she said. Figured someone else might need them. You didn't have to, Gregory said, surprised. I know, she replied, but I've been the only one hurting in silence for a long time. I don't want anyone else to think they have to do the same. Gregory accepted the bag and placed it in the staff cabinet. We're building something different now. She gave a simple nod and returned to the back without fanfare. Later that day, Carla arrived on site with a finalized report from HR. She found Gregory in the back office, sorting through the week's repair orders and vendor invoices. We've confirmed the last of the rehiring interviews, she said, handing him a printed summary. Of the 7 wrongful terminations, 5 accepted reemployment. 2 declined, 1 moved out of state, the other started her own business. Gregory scanned the list. Send both the full back pay anyway, with a letter apologizing for how they were treated. Carla nodded. Already done. She hesitated before adding, also, legal finalized their review of Valerie's file. There were signs this wasn't isolated. Gregory set the paper down. Explain. She had similar patterns at her last property. Terminations spiked. Guest complaints were always filed under her name. No formal investigations were launched. Her supervisors chalked it up to a tough management style. Gregory's jaw tightened, and no one ever questioned the pattern. Not until now. He leaned back in the chair. We're going to audit every property. Quietly. I don't care how long it takes. If there are other Valeries in our system, I want them gone. Carla didn't blink. Understood. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the west-facing windows, Gregory stood at the front desk beside Shelby. The lobby had settled into a calm hum, guests checking in with ease. The phones answered on the first ring. Not a single escalation in over 4 hours. A young woman approached, suitcase in tow, and paused when she saw Gregory. I think I know you, she said. You're the guy from the news clip? The one who went undercover. He gave a small smile. I am. She looked around the lobby, then leaned in slightly. Good. This place feels different than it used to. Better. He thanked her, then watched as she crossed the room and disappeared into the elevator. Shelby waited until the doors closed before speaking. You planning to keep doing this? I can't be in every store, Gregory said, but I can make sure the people I trust are. She glanced at him. That why you've been watching how we work? Picking who's steady under pressure. I'm not just watching, he said. I'm restructuring. There's no more room for power hoarding, no more silencing. Stores like this one, they're the front line. They define who we are. Shelby nodded slowly. Then let me make a suggestion. Don't just fix what broke. Build what never existed. Gregory considered that, then said, You have management experience? I've led teams before. Was never given a title for it. You'll have one now, Gregory said. Starting next week, you're the new operations lead here. Full authority over training, scheduling, and guest relations. With a seat in the monthly regional meetings. She blinked, caught off guard. I didn't come here looking for a title. You earned one anyway. She didn't respond right away. Then, without ceremony, she extended her hand. All right, let's do it right. He shook it. We will. The rest of the week passed without incident. New hires were scheduled for orientation. Maintenance crews arrived to begin overdue repairs. A rotation system was set up for cross-store support, ensuring no one worked back-to-back doubles without recovery days. The break room was restocked with basic supplies, first aid kits, snacks, even a suggestion box that Gregory insisted be checked weekly by someone outside of store management. On Sunday evening, after the last shift handed off to night audit, Gregory stepped outside and stood in the stillness of the parking lot. A few lights flickered over the entrance sign. The building looked the same from the outside, but he knew what had changed on the inside. Not because of sweeping policies, but because someone finally paid attention. Carla walked up behind him, holding the final staffing report. We're almost at 70% capacity for next week. If we keep pace, we'll be fully staffed by mid-month. Gregory looked up at the sign, then back at the entrance doors. We're not just rebuilding this store, he said. We're rebuilding trust. She nodded. And this time it'll hold. He didn't say anything else. Just watched as a late-arriving guest walked through the doors and was greeted by a receptionist who offered a genuine smile. Not because of a policy, not out of fear, but because the air had changed. Because finally someone had made it safe to care again.